Good evening, everyone. This is the May meeting of the Planning Board for Irvington. And just a quick comment that if you're expecting the property to be on the agenda, it is not, because they didn't submit a revision. So if you're expecting to hear something about the solar proposal, that's never, it's not going to be heard tonight, because they didn't make a suggestion. Let me introduce the people here for the village. There's Sarah Palermo, she'll be the gatekeeper on the Zoom. There's Ed Marin, the building inspector. Doug Hahn, village consultant engineer. Mary Ann Stessage, village attorney. And now on the board is Lori Davidowitz and McGillicuddy. I'm Caesar Manfredi, the chairman, Mike Smith, and Kevin Thurman. We have the minutes for April 6th.
Yes, I received corrections.
Everybody, minutes. We have a motion to approve.
I mentioned.
Second.
Second.
Minutes for April 6th to approve. Let me go with the order of the applications. Maybe if I put my glasses on, I can see what I'm doing. All right. Number one will be 90 Fargo Lane. Number two, of course, they're fogging up. Number two is 3 Dow's Lane. Number three is 5 Hillside Terrace. Number four is 25 Dearman Close. Number 5 is 7 Irving Place. Number 6 is 76 North Broadway, the Maxim property. Number 7 is Mercy College. Number 8 is 53 Field Terrace. Sarah, do we have number 1?
Do the application. Sam, all right.
Can you see me?
John?
Hi, Tom Malone, Ferguson Malone Architecture, representing the 90 Fargo Lane project. We received comments from the village engineer on this project. I believe we made some changes that clarified exactly what changes are being proposed to the deck and clarified the coverage impacts of that. So the drawings were revised to show what was approved previously and how that differed from what was proposed. And I think we also addressed a few other comments about the configuration of the fence that protects access to the pool. I don't know if the board has any other questions or needs anything else from us at this point.
Did the coverage get settled then? John, you settled the coverage? There was something with some pavers that were not included last time.
No, I think that.
That was,
That's a different one.
oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sure. I'm on the wrong page. Okay. Sorry, John. You can answer that question on the next property.
All set, Caesar.
Okay. Any members of the public that are present here want to comment on this project? Sarah, you have anything?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay. Mary Ann, you have a resolution?
Yeah. 20 ETA Fargo LLC received site development plan approval to construct an addition and renovation to the home by driveway, deck, walks, and stormwater mitigation system. And whereas in March 2022, the applicant applied for revised site development plan to modify the driveway, eliminate a proposed retaining wall, steps, and regeneration pond, remove an and roof deck, modify the front entrance walk, and modify the pool deck and the other set of stairs to the dining room deck, and where town engineering reviewed the plan. And then the memorandum dated April 5th, 2022, listed several issues which were all adequately addressed in the subsequent submission. And whereas the planning board had held a public hearing on secret, and therefore requires no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved, the planning board grants the application
Yes.
for revised site development plan to entitled Pagano residence nearby Ferguson Malone Architecture, and the drawing is entitled Proposed Additions and Alterations 90 Fargo Lane, prepared by Hudson Engineering.
Now, can we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
In favor.
Dan,
In favor?
Caesar, in favor? Mike Smith.
In favor? In favor.
Okay, that's passed. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
And Dan is recused. Dow's Lane, 2022-14.
I'm sorry, I promoted him to a complete. Sorry.
We have a little electronic glitch, but it's being straightened out. They eliminated you, now you're back.
Yeah, we did it pretty quickly, yeah. So this is the project with Threes Down Lane, which involves the addition of an exterior oil tank in the side yard of the existing building. I think when we were last here, there was some additional coverage, assembly of pavers behind the existing garage. That's been added to the coverage calculations. That's been added to the coverage calculations, and we submitted a new application for the project separate from the previous application that was in front of the board that was related to the accessory apartment. So this is its own application now. I think the comments that we received were limited to the fact that the project remains over coverage and that the fuel tank is in the side yard. And I think the fuel tank is considered a building. So both of those will require a visit to the ZBA. And then there's one note about an error in the application where there are protected trees on the site in the sense that there are trees larger than 6 inches. The project doesn't involve any excavation or any changes or any tree protection. But yes, we can change that in the application and resubmit.
Hey, John. Okay, everything's straightened out on this?
Everything's all set. Caesar, Zoom is not projecting well. You need to speak up. But everyone needs to speak up when they're talking.
These masks are not helping things.
Thank you.
Speak more closely.
Caesar, we're all set.
Okay. Mary Ann, you have a resolution?
May 22, Warrington Janice Shep applied for the site development plan approval to add an exterior oil tank to the north of the house and legalize existing sidewalks at the property of 3 Dow's Lane, which is located in the Blue Preservation District, and whereas the proposed improvements will require variances in the zoning board of appeals for coverage and diversion to the side yard setback, and where town engineering the third found only one minor application, and where the negatively impact the view of the Hudson River from neighboring properties. It's a type 2 action under secret, and therefore there's no environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved, if the application for site development plan approval of the improvements reflected lines entitled Chef's Residence, prepared by Ferguson Malone Architecture, subject to 1, receiving variance from the ZBA for coverage in the side yard setback, and 2, complying with the guidance on memorandum dated May 3rd, 2022.
Okay, thank you, Mary Ann. Does Does anybody on the board have any questions about the resolution?
No.
We have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Lori,
Approved.
Mike Fuco, Caesar, yes, approved. Mike Smith,
Yes, approved.
Kevin.
Yes, approved.
Okay, it's all done with that. Thank you very much, Mike. That was good. Order number 3, 2022-13, it's 5 Hillside Terrace.
Please wear a mask. We have somebody back door. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sarah, is there somebody trying to get in or?
Yeah.
Okay. We see you, but you're not saying anything.
Hey, sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Can you make a brief presentation of your project?
Yeah,
Is your architectural engineer on as well?
he's not. I didn't know I was here to present this, but effectively, we're adding dog shed dormers to the house. We're proposing to.
Give us 1 second, Caesar. We're going to try to put it up for you. Oh.
Sorry, guys, should I be pulling up something?
You don't have your PDF of your project, do you? Share screen.
I don't. I didn't think I was going to have to project.
I'm looking for it.
We're attempting to resurrect
Give me
it
2
on our,
seconds. We'll find something.
for those listeners attempting to locate project on our computer. The applicant architect is not here to make the presentation.
Yeah.
So, Mr. O'Reilly, we have your plans up. If you can give us a brief description of your project in a little bit more detail.
First of all, can you see what we're looking at?
I can. Okay, so we're,
You want to show? Yeah,
It's just a drawing, right?
right on. So what's up now is the site plan, Mr. O'Reilly. You want to go over that there's no increase of coverage or footprint?
that's correct. We're adding 2 dog shed dormers to the front of the house, obviously. It'll add about 30 cubic feet of extra space that we're planning to using storage. I'm not sure how much detail you guys want to go into. They're pretty straightforward. It's not going to alter anything about the house with the exception of the exterior and adding the 30 extra cubic feet, like I mentioned.
Yeah, I think in this drawing,
Go
there's a
next
picture
slide.
of it.
So you're adding cubic volume, but you're not adding floor area ratio.
No,
Correct. Okay. Go to the, this is the elevation
Yeah,
drawing.
yeah.
Let's just go over the elevation real quick. Just explain the elevation that it's just the front of the building.
This is looking at the house from the street, and you can see the 2 dormers there, so why don't you tell us about it?
okay, yeah, there are 2 small dormers that will be centered within the visual area of the roof line there. There'll be the Anderson 400 series windows, as far as I know. I don't have the exact dimensions in front of me, but let's see.
That's okay. They'll meet egress. We already reviewed that. And they'll match siding and roof and trim, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Board have any more questions?
Dan, no question. No question.
Okay. Any public present in the room have a question? In the internet,
There's nobody raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat.
okay, Mary Ann, you have a resolution on it?
Whereas April 2022, Jessica and Paul O'Reilly applied for site development plan approval to construct 2 dormers on their house at 5 Hillside Terrace. And whereas the dormers will not increase coverage or FAR, the town engineer reviewed the plans and then a memorandum dated May 3rd found no engineering issues that list the 7 corrections to be made to the drawing. And whereas the planning board held a public hearing on the application on May 4th, and with the action of the planning board grants the application to reflect for the improvements reflect on the warmer prepared by Stephen H. Costa, subject to items in the common minutes dated May 3rd.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay,
Approved.
approved, Caesar approved, Mike,
Approved.
Kevin, approved. Okay, we're all set, that's completed.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Actually, it was a very good submittal by our architect.
Well,
Otherwise, this quick approval would not have happened.
that's
So he
Stephen
did a good
Costa.
job.
Yes, I know. He's always our ace in the hole, so we appreciate his help.
In spite of the fact he wasn't here, the presentation he made before he was here, very good.
Right. Sorry, I was not new to this. I didn't have anything prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that,
I don't get any credit for that presentation?
anybody knows, you know. Three, we are now going to, number 4, which is 2325 Dearman, 2022-17.
You want to say that, Mike?
Mike Bafuco is sitting in for Laurie Davidowitz. Is our alternate on this project. See you, David. Casey.
Caesar, speak up.
This is, we see you, David.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good to see all of you. David Steinmetz from the law firm of Zarin and Steinmetz here this evening. I think my whole team has joined. I'm here this evening representing Raj and Punita Nakum. Raj, I see, is on screen and with us. I'm joined this evening by my colleague Casey Brenner, our project architect Mitchell Koch from MKA Studio, and Tomas Lopinski, also part of our design team. And Hudson Engineering, folks, is our civil engineer. They were unable to join us tonight, but they are part of our team and will be working on the SWIP and drainage. I'm here tonight in connection, as the chair indicated, with regard to 23 and 25 Dearman Close. I think you're probably all familiar with the fact that there is one existing home on these 2 lots. My client purchased both the lot with the house and the vacant lot that actually contains a driveway access to the main house. While we definitely intend to pursue a merger in the event this application is successful. Presently, these are two lots, and they're simply two lots because that was the way your board originally subdivided and created. We're here tonight in connection with some modifications that the Nakums would like to make to their house. They would like to add an upper level to the residence. They'd like to convert an existing garage into a guest suite. They'd like to enclose an existing porch area and make use of this as a dining area. They intend to construct a new vehicular garage, which we'll talk a little bit about. It is designed to be effectively underground with area usable above and covered in lawn. And they're also modifying their existing driveway and planning to install suitable stormwater. We believe that the application is entirely zoning compliant. We've spent a great deal of time looking closely at FAR, at coverage, setbacks and the like. And one of the things, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, that Casey and I chose to do on this application, which was a little different from what we normally do, we thought it was prudent for Raj to reach out to his neighbors and let them know up front exactly what he and his wife were planning to do, because it's obviously an existing home. There's a vacant lot that people have had in their neighborhood. We wanted to make sure they all understood what was going to occur and why we thought it was actually beneficial for the community. Fortuitously, Raj explained that there was a homeowners association meeting that was coming up, that he was able to attend that homeowners association meeting, explain the application, share his plans. And I suggested that it would be nice to be able to let the chair and the board know that the community hopefully reacts well. That is why Casey and I submitted to you, 10, 11 letters of support, including letters from the immediately surrounding neighbors. So we thought that would be particularly useful to the board. Just for the sake of the record, 23 Dearman is 23,610 square feet. 25 Dearman is 23,149 square feet. Both lots are zoning compliant in the R20 zoning district. Together, the property would comprise 46,759 square feet over an acre. We believe that the size, the massing, the design, the concept that Mitchell and Tomas have been working on is attractive. It's more functional than the house is now. And one of the advents and benefits to the Dearman Close community, it preserves effectively a half acre of property that otherwise could and would contain a single family dwelling. We did receive Doug Hahn's comment letter. I think we received it, Casey, earlier today. And our team is working on responding to that. We actually don't think that Doug raised anything that was either a surprise or something that we could not otherwise address. And we're really excited to be working with Raj, Punita, and their team. And I'm going to turn it over to, I don't know if I'm turning it over to Mitchell or Tomas or both of you to walk us through, but just if you could just briefly share screen and the plan. And Mr. Chairman, if you and the board have any questions specifically about the design, we're happy to answer those.
Hi, this is Mitch. I just want to confirm that everybody can see my screen at this point.
We can.
Yes. So briefly, we're doing a little bit of everything. We're going to be converting some existing bits of the property. We're going to be doing some additions. And we're, in the case of the screen porch, we're going to do an enclosure of an existing built part of the house. Essentially, our goal is going to be to add about 3,150 square feet of a new FAR, but it falls comfortably within the limits of FAR on this site. In brief, you can see here, we're proposing to do a new 2-car garage with some bicycle maintenance equipment space, a new entry. And that's on the lower level. And we would ascend upstairs. We're doing an addition to create a family room. And here at the bottom, you can see that we want to enclose the porch and turn it into a dining room off the kitchen, and finally create a kind of a guest room suite and a gym, which is in the current garage. That's the gist of it. Our goal will be to create a kind of a walkout lawn and green roof on the top of the new proposed garage. And this will be integrated directly into the landscape on the backside of the property. And I can quickly just return us to our site plan, where you can see that the garage would just, basically, you can just walk out onto existing lawn. There'll be some restoration of lawn here. And essentially, that's the gist of it.
Mitch,
So-
that's exactly what I was hoping you'd cover, if we have questions. But one thing I want to just focus on, so the board understands, the garage itself, as Mitchell just explained, is designed to be essentially entirely underground, other than the immediate access point for the vehicles, so as to permit the use of the ground above as the same as if no building was present. So that's why Mitchell felt it was important for you to hear. You can walk out, you can enjoy it. It's lawn area. You can sit there, you can put chairs there, you can picnic there, you can toss a Frisbee. It is lawn area for the family. It will be safeguarded, Mitchell, by some form of small knee wall fence or something.
Yeah, well, we have to put a guardrail because as you come to the front edge, if you can see, it's a dangerous fall. And on the side, same thing. We will protect anybody from falling off. But as I move off the back of it, I'm really at grade, which is the key thing. So we feel like it's very nicely integrated into the back lawn area in the landscape.
As a result of that analysis, we do comply with coverage. We just come in under the coverage level, and therefore we do believe, based upon FAR and coverage, we are compliant. Mr. Chairman, we have nothing more affirmative to present. We're happy to answer questions for you and the entire board.
And I'd like to reiterate that we will be responding to Han's questions and comments.
First of all, I believe that the garage is part of FAR.
Yeah, so that you'll have to include the garage and the FAR and then take the credit appropriate. Because it's an elevation facing the street.
And I think we learned that today,
You
and we can make that correction.
Yeah. And then coverage, you'll have to add the walls that project above the roof and hold the railings will be included in the coverage calculations.
The retaining walls for the entrance of the garage.
And the side.
And the side.
Right,
You should still be fine,
yes,
but they need to be included. And then the only other thing that might not be on the memo is we didn't have the elevation to check the height. If you're going lower than the existing level on the north side, then you might need height variance, but it looks like you're fine on this diagram.
yeah, we
Mitch,
can
just-
get you all of that.
Mitch, just so there's no disconnect on the coverage issue, I just want to go back to that for a second. I hope we're fine by adding in those walls. That sounds great. I know, Mitch, we were rather close mathematically. Casey, I think you and I thought we were within 20 square feet of allowable. So Mitch, make sure you take a close look at the walls. so that we comply with the building inspector's suggestion?
Absolutely, it was an oversight, and we'll make adjustments so that we will still conform as of right to the zoning.
Great.
If I'm not mistaken, and I looked twice, I didn't see those elevations. It
No, they weren't
No,
submitted.
they weren't.
weren't submitted. See a rendering of what this is going to look like, particularly the second floor and the garage. You say you're going to, the garage is going to be soil on top. I would hate to think that it's going to be a mound of soil that just to eliminate the coverage issue. We really want to see what it's going to look like and what elevations, and there's rock there. How deep you're going to go? And I was up there and you can see the outcrop of rock. Is this going to require chipping or some form of excavation in the rock?
Absolutely,
How deep can you-
that will be determined. We just wanted to present this to you first. And as you can see, here are some elevations of the garage, but we will provide a 3D model for you to review as well.
And we wouldn't want to say, well, we approve it in one way, and then you find out you can't go deeper than you thought because of the rock, and then you're higher than you thought, and our approval is not what you're building. We don't want to go there because it'll look like something different than what we approved.
Right, I take your
And
point,
certainly-
yes.
And because the less you go into the ground, the higher the mound will be, and the view from the street is going to be an anthill. I'd be hesitant to approve something like that. So you're going to have to prove that this is going to work.
Mitch, have we taken any core drilling, any borings to determine the rock situation that the
Not
chair is
yet.
indicating?
That would be our next step, our next
Okay.
phase, yes.
And the chair indicated that they had not seen any renderings. Is there anything there on the left side of your screen? You're kind of cutting off some of it.
Yeah, these
how-
are photographs of the existing house. We have not prepared a 3D model yet, but we certainly will do so. And that will give us the renderings from the street. But this south elevation is essentially the view from the street.
In terms of colors and materials, Mitch, are you
Okay.
marrying to the colors and materials so the board understands that?
Yes, we'll definitely present it. And of course, we have to go to the architectural review board as well.
Correct. Great.
That's,
Caesar, we're happy to
elevation.
come back with more information on the soil. I know Raj had considered the ant hill design, but decided against it. So we
That's a good thing.
yes.
Pointed out the addition of the additional height. We need to be able to judge the elevations because there might be some height concerns because of the way the slope is in the back. Did I get that right, Ed?
Yeah, when you go downhill on an addition, building gets taller. So you're not making a taller building, but you're going downhill. The lowest point of the periphery may change so lower than the existing today, so we double check that.
Got it.
Okay, we'll include that.
We have a 24-inch tree. There's no information about replacing the replacement for that tree.
We haven't hired a landscape architect yet, and that's certainly on our to-do list. Again, initially, we just wanted to put this out here and see how you looked at it and what response we got from Han, and we'll address all of these things for our next presentation.
My understanding in the back is a conservation easement. Is that true?
I think it's a temporary construction.
Yes,
Needs to be shown on the plan. It's in Doug's list.
It's in Doug's list, but you need to show that, please.
yes, here
And,
I will see it in the back here. There's a note here, temporary grading
Some
easement.
grading, right?
Yeah,
How does that impact the project?
I think it's moot, actually.
Significant to that.
I
don't.
we don't think it's, once it's on the plan, it should be fine.
Okay.
It appears to be fine, but once it's on the plan, we'll double check it.
Yes, we'll integrate that.
And Dave, you were correct. There was 10 signatures on 10 form letters. And my suspicion was that must have been and I was correct.
There must have been a what?
Those letters were generated and I was correct. That was my thought when I was reading the letters.
You're going to speak up.
I'm speaking right into the mic.
Just so you know, Caesar, it cut off in the middle of your sentence. It's probably not you. It might just be the audio feed.
I can't get it.
Cut off again.
Yeah, we're losing the audio from, at least from the chair's mic.
Like working.
Yeah.
What I was saying was my thought when I saw the 10 letters that this had to be a homeowners association meeting, that you gathered all the signatures.
Yes, yes. It was great timing, and it was a good thing to know that the neighbors were positive about this application. That's all, simple.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, I have a question about.
Mitch, if you can unshare.
Yeah,
Questions about the fence on top of the garage. I think you showed it and briefly mentioned it was knee height. Is that correct?
I think I used that phrase. I don't know if it was, I asked if there was a knee wall or a fence. Mitchell, do you want to just explain the kind of the
yeah,
height?
it would be a code compliant guardrail is the term of art. They have to be 36 inches tall, and it would be a modern piece of work that would enhance the look of the, of the garage roof and integrate with the modern design of the house. So.
Okay, I was more wondering about the height because of the knee height mentioned. Knee is the perfect angle to fall over. But,
Yes.
Yes. We don't want.
And
I'm all set, thank you.
I have another, just reading. You mentioned merging the lots. Please understand that the eventual resolution for this property will contain a condition of merge.
We understand that. We fully understand that, and we would like that to occur. We just didn't want to be presumptuous and merge the lots before we filed the application and processed.
That is understandable, because you never know what this board might do.
I didn't say that, Caesar.
No question.
Any public in the room that would like to comment? No. Any public on the Zoom?
Nobody's raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay, what was presentation? And next meeting, we'd like to see what it looks like from the street.
We will make sure that happens.
Very much. And we'll
Terrific.
see you
Have a
next
great
time.
night. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right, the next on the list. 5. Seven Irving Place.
Just hit the raise hand button.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Good
I'm in the
evening.
process of turning my phone off. I've been having some, suggested it might be my phone. Okay, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the board, town council, village council staff. My name is Lino Sharetta, partner with the law firm of Blakely, Platt and Schmidt on behalf of Adi and Shireen Bloom of 7 Irving Place. We were here last month, Mr. Chairman. We had some comments from Han Engineering. We did receive comments again this month from Han Engineering dated May 3rd. We do have a little homework that we have to do with respect to these plans. So what I would like to do is I'd like to turn this over to Renee Byers, the architect, landscape architect on this matter, and discuss a couple of items. We do have a plan that we would like to submit for the next meeting. But before we submit, we just want to kind of put it on the screen and just get some feedback from you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, with respect to some of the comments. We do address some of the comments that are raised in Han's memo, and we'd like to do that. We are going to need variances for this application. We do need a coverage variance, and we're going to need a front yard, I believe. And I'll defer to Mr. Marin to see if there's anything else. But my understanding is coverage and front yard. And I would like, if it is possible, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, maybe to possibly be referred to zoning board to at least start that process. I mean, we do have to come back to your board and get these plans updated. But that's something that we'd like to start and get over there if that's possible. But without further ado, if it's okay, Mr. Chair, I'd like to turn this over to Renee, just so she can go over a couple of the items on the site plan that we think will address some of the comments made by Han Engineering, if that's okay.
Shall I go ahead? Can you all hear me?
Yes, if you could bring up the site plan would be very
Absolutely.
useful.
So I'm Renee Byers and I'm sharing my screen. Hang on. So just to back up a second, we did have a number of engineering comments from Han Engineering as well as Suzanne Nolan, and we took care of everything that was on the list before. And today we received a few additional comments that were there. So I wanted to, we sat down today and kind of quickly prepared something that we hope will work out and perhaps allow us to kind of continue on with the process. I have right in front of me, I'll zoom in a little bit. We have an unusual situation where, as you know, part of the property is bordered by Strawberry Lane, and we have there is an existing fence that goes off the property and is part of the existing pool enclosure, for which the owners actually had done some repair work for a long-standing fence that was off the property, and they had a fence contractor, apparently they say, who filed for a permit. I don't believe it was closed out. We weren't involved in that. Be that as it may, we understand the concern about the fence location. So we did prepare this plan showing our fence coming around. This would be a legal pool enclosure fence coming around and bringing it right onto the Strawberry Lane side property line where my little hand is going. And then it returns via a gate to the side of the house. The rest of the enclosure is per the plan prior. We also added notes regarding the portion of the landscape that, if you visited the property, you would think is part of the property, which is a couple of retaining walls and some existing planting. And we are now showing that there's no work proposed in this area outside of the line. So that's where these little red areas are. And you can see our property line right in here. And then
Renee, Renee, that was to address the specific concern about having landscaping and items in the right of way, correct? Or
right,
off
it
the
does.
property?
Comment 4 reads, the proposed fence and any other work located outside the applicant's property line should be removed. Fencing that does not meet the pool code should be revised. So we did go over, I went over our fencing design with Will at Han Engineering at length, and he agreed that what we had showed did make meet the state code. I think what probably didn't meet the code is the fact that the old pool enclosure was part of a chain link fence right here that is off the property outside of our line. So that's all been corrected.
Thank you, Renee.
Then I have, hang on, another plan to show you. We have the Hudson engineering plan that what's interesting about this plan is that so during the discussion about the ownership and getting permission from Strawberry Lane owners to access the property, we had Hudson prepared an alternate plan, which we didn't submit before, which is showing the construction access off of Irving Place. So we were going to put that in last time with the last comments, but then when Lino discovered in our deed, or in not obviously the Bloom's deed, that they are allowed access off of Strawberry Lane in their deed, but apparently that's still not viewed as sufficient. And Lino can get into the legal part. I'm not quite sure why that isn't, but in any case, to move the project along, we're now showing the access where Hudson has it here on at this location. So then we have closed off this side. So this is not, we need Hudson to say okay to use this plan because this was something that we weren't able to reach them this afternoon, but this is what we had sort of at the ready if we couldn't find the wording in the deed. So there you have the sort of Strawberry Lane question. The only other comment of note here, which is not a problem for us to handle, which is that the retaining wall details should include gravel and filter fabric for wall drainage. No problem with that. The drawings can readily be. So those are the comments that are on the sheet that came today. And I'm happy to talk about these or any others.
Thank you, Renee.
So I think I'm going to stop the share, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless the board wants to have it up, but that's our presentation.
No, leave it up.
Sure.
Okay.
I understand there was some undocumented last time. Was that taken care of then?
That was another project.
No, I got it right here.
Okay.
Undocumented.
We're in a good place, other than it being one.
You had some trouble with the barrier fence on the southern side of the,
The northern side, they took care of it.
no, the southern side also.
Southern side has been taken care of.
Doug, I think I asked you before, the erosion control.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, they addressed that. with the disturbance. So, the coverage values, the allowable is 5,341. The existing is 8,989, and the proposed coverage is 9,063. So they're exceeded by 69.7% over the allowable, and 0%, 0.8% greater than the existing.
Comments from the board, Lori?
Difficult to access the site using Irving as opposed to Strawberry.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the full question.
Is it more difficult for you to access the site using Irving instead of Strawberry?
Yes.
Or does it?
Frankly, yes. That's why we had it on the other side before. Anything is possible, of course, but yeah, topographically, it's easier.
Yeah, Strawberry makes a lot more sense topographically as opposed to Irving.
If you were to visit the site, you would see why.
And there's no way they can't.
Well, the deed any rights over Strawberry Lane. It talks about rights to Strawberry Lane, if any, and those weren't shown. They may have shown that they have rights to Strawberry.
And I mean, this comes up with another applicant, right? So is there nothing that the village can do to help these residents to make construction easier? Because, you know, if we're approving this project, we're impacting their neighbors on Irving more than anything.
That
Area
is
of
correct.
Strawberry, so
Right.
That hits the nail on the head. Yep.
Well, I just have to say that the document that was.
I lost you, Marianne. You're breaking up.
Yeah, that the letter submitted.
Can you hear Renee or no?
I can't hear her either.
Yeah.
It's been happening all evening. Everybody's been, the audios, it's, I don't think it's their microphones, it's something with the Zoom, people are going in
Is
and out.
this any better?
I hear you now.
Okay, so I'm good. It does not in fact show any rights in Strawberry Lane. It's a little problem.
Again, it's breaking up. Yeah, Marianne, we can't really, we hear like the first sentence and then you cut out. Maybe try another microphone. It sounds like there's an audio issue.
Well, she already did try a second mic.
Yeah.
Marianne,
I
shut
could-
it too off.
No,
I think it's a Zoom connection.
okay, let's now. Well, you could before, it just stopped. Okay, I'm saying is that this drawing is not the drawing you guys got. Problem is the drawing that we reviewed had not only access over Strawberry Lane, had actual fences and other things in Strawberry Lane. Whether
Right.
you got a right of way or you don't have the right to build anything there. So until we see a whole picture, I definitely don't think this is ready to go to the zoning board because
No,
we haven't seen everything.
I agree.
Yeah,
And then we'll have time to review, but unless you can come up with something else that you could use Strawberry Lane, it's not in the document that was submitted to me. That's not what that deed says.
Yeah, I think there's two issues though, Marianne. I think, you know, it's one thing, what we're showing tonight is we're showing that the improvements that we had proposed in terms of the fencing and landscaping in the Strawberry Lane right away, we've removed now and put them all on the Bloom's property. So that goes in
No,
terms
that's
of,
it.
say that again. So just, yeah, so let me just, yeah, but so I don't disagree with you in terms of the language of the deed. It talks about access and that they have, you know, the meets and bounds description does include the right of way. We looked at it, we charted it, so it does call for access. Now, it's silent as to whether you can have structures in there. I agree with you there, but you know, in terms of saying that the Blums cannot use Strawberry Lane, I don't believe that's accurate. They can utilize Strawberry Lane based on the fact that they have to the center line. They have in their deed specifically provides. Again, I understand the language is if any, but there's nothing there that shows the negative either. So you know,
Yeah.
and
They
quite
do
frankly,
not have to the. They do not have to the center. Nobody has to the center lane on Strawberry Lane. That much I know. Whether they've got,
it's.
it's not in the document that you submitted.
But what is it? Is it because in terms of access?
Right of way. Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? We can work this next meeting.
Okay.
I don't think we have to take up everybody's time on this. We can work it out before the next meeting because you've got to come back anyway so that the board can review what your actual plans are.
Yeah, and that's fair. Again, the point of tonight was really just to show the board, you know, what, I mean, we know this plan wasn't submitted. We pulled this together this afternoon once we got Hans' comments and simply just show the board, you know, give you a preview. We know you have a long night. just to give you an idea of what we're looking to do, but we did address many of Han's comments. And again, I know from some of the neighbors' standpoint, they'd rather see us use Strawberry as opposed to Irving. And I know I just saw a comment too on the screen with respect to access, during construction. So again, we'll address it. We'll talk about it, but I just wanted to give you all an idea of, we did address these comments, and we were hoping to get the zoning board at least to start the process, but understood if you still need to see the plans to review. So I understand.
Yeah, just Lino, just walk through the deed together. Maybe you can convince me.
Sure, we'll do that. I'm assuming not now, Marianne, though, right?
No.
Okay.
I just want to say, from a more global perspective, this Strawberry Lane issue comes up more than once, and I don't know who the right governing body is to help residents and developers deal with it,
The
but
board of trustees is aware of it.
it'd be great to settle it so it doesn't keep coming.
All right, keep it.
Okay, Laurie, thank you. Dan, you have any questions?
No, thanks. No question.
No questions.
Anybody present in the room that has a comment on this? I assume you do. Okay.
Yes, PJ McCullough from 11 Strawberry Lane.
Hold on a second. Gonna maybe turn it off.
I don't think it's on.
I just wanted to applaud the Blooms for what they're trying to do here. I think building a 1 acre I think it has the ability to elevate the neighborhood, but potentially the entire village. Honestly, I just want to thank them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that you dig for the new planting, that you don't disturb existing planting. Disturb the roots for neighboring trees. Or comment that I know, sure you're aware of that when you talk to Susan Noel. All right.
There was a comment from Hudson, and this is part of an earlier discussion. His
Is
comment
this a
was,
chat comment?
this is a chat comment, and his comment was, I am one of those neighbors on Irving and Strawberry. Both make more sense and would be a lot less disruptive for us.
The issue was a legal right to do it. Anything else, Sarah?
Nobody's in their hand to speak, and there are no additional comments in the chat.
Okay. And I'm still not clear. If all the pool fences are okay, they don't have to change anything for the next meeting?
They're good. They're good for the planning board submission.
Okay.
The detail we needed for the building permit, but it just like she did on the last permit, she knows what to do.
Okay.
I mean, we have comments,
But they would,
like they probably did, but we didn't see them.
you need to come back, because this is the first time we're seeing this new
Yep. Understood, Mr. Chairman. Understood.
on property that's not yours.
Yep.
I think that's a, dude, you would not be on property you don't own.
Yeah, I just
Okay,
wanted to
thank you
add,
very
we're happy to come back. I just wanted to add that we thought that we were okay. We're happy to come back to do this. But the reason we didn't do it before is because it wasn't in the 33 comments from the first time around, which were very detailed. So we thought, all right, well, we guess we're grandfathered in. So I just wanted to explain that's why we didn't change that at the beginning. That's it.
Unfortunately, we
Good night.
missed the property line. Hold on, one more question.
Okay,
We missed the property line the first time around, but as we looked at it a little more seriously, it became obvious that
I understand.
protecting work.
It was highlighted more than,
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I didn't see it last time. This time it's.
So we got some work to do, Mr. Chairman. We'll have
There
it
you go.
submitted.
Minor increase over existing
yes.
coverage.
Right.
any way that you could keep it at the existing or lower, think about that. And you did the chart for neighborhood comparisons.
We did.
Have to take a close look at that for next time. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You all have a good night. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Good night. Bye.
2022-15, 76 North Broadway.
Somebody representing the application, if you can hit the raise hand button, please. Oh, I do.
See you. We see two people.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. Can you hear me?
Yes. Before you make a presentation, I would like to make a preamble, please.
Sure.
I was listening in at the trustee meeting last couple of weeks ago, and what I was about to say when I had difficulties, that the zoning on this project has been established by the trustees, and the use has already been established by the trustees. The purpose of this board is to make sure that the proposal fits in with the existing infrastructure and the character of the village. This is not a board that's going to re-talk about the use or the zoning. That was done extensively by the Board of Trustees. And we're, as I said, we're looking at, can the infrastructure that exists carry what's proposed? And if it can't, you reduce the project or increase the infrastructure, and whether it fits in with the character of the community. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Ron.
Thank you. So my name is Jim Wendling. I'm with WBP Development. I'm joined by Rich Williams, a partner with Insight Engineering. And Sarah, there should be Texer Naman too, an owner with the owner of Architectural Work Office. And as the chairman said, we informally presented last month to the village board. So it's nice to be before you for the first step in this process, which is our application for determination for site capacity. A site that we're under contract for, but have not closed yet. I'll speak briefly just a little bit about WBP Development, and then I'll turn it over to Rich and Texer. We're a Westchester-based, fully integrated real estate development firm. We develop, build, and manage. What you see before you are examples of some of our developments that are completed and or under construction. Just to point out a few, in the upper left-hand corner is Chappaqua Crossing, an adaptive reuse of the original Reader's Digest building. That building contains market rate, affordable, and workforce. In the middle is a high-rise in New Rochelle, 27 stories. We're about 95% complete on, 75% market rate, 25% affordable. In the lower right is another example. Thank you, Rich. 109 units in Tarrytown under construction. That's a senior affordable building. So this just gives you a sense of some of our recent work. We have currently 1,250 units under construction, half affordable, half market rate, mostly in Westchester County. As I said, we manage everything that we build. So we have built about 35 rental communities in the Hudson Valley, and we have our own in-house management team that manages them. Something that I spoke about at the village board meeting last month. Thank you, Rich. That's an example of everything in blue there is what we manage, and everything in yellow is under construction and we will manage. So that gives you a snapshot of our past 20, 25 years of our rental work, but not our for sale work. We believe in healthy and sustainable and efficient construction. We've developed LEED certified buildings. I think we completed the first large scale one in Putnam County in about 2009, 2010. That was 90 units. We're working on electric buildings. We're currently in design on a passive house, multifamily affordable construction development in Greenberg. It'll be the first, I think, multifamily affordable development in Westchester. The Tarrytown development I showed you as an example on the first page includes geothermal heating and cooling. We install solar on site for our common area electric. And another thing that is important, since this is our first meeting and we're meeting you for the first time, is that we believe in a collaborative approach with the elected officials, village, and public at large. We have had a history of doing that. We think it's important to get to a good end result where we're proud of the development and the village or municipality or town has had input. So we've met with the Irvington Housing Committee, and I've started to meet with neighbors in and around the site just to explain what our vision is for the site and what we're looking to do and hear feedback. And that's one of the reasons the village board meeting was so helpful last month to start the feedback process. Specifically about 76 North Broadway, as I said, we're under contract. We think it's a great site. We've obviously reviewed the zoning. We understand it was rezoned in May of 2021. The Board of Trustees passed a resolution supporting affordable housing in June of 2021. There's obviously, frankly, from a national and a regional and a local level, a need for affordable housing. We see this, we're proposing is income averaging, which is offering the homes up to families that make up to 30 to 80% of the area median income. So that opens up a wide band of opportunities for a lot of different families. We've discussed the site with the county and with the state, and they're supportive of it as well. Something I'd like to point out that Rich and Texer will do a better job than me of, but we spent a lot of time on the design. And again, this is a preliminary design that you see before, that you will see when they present. But we have the parking underground, not required by zoning, but we think it's the right design for this neighborhood, for the surrounding neighborhood. We're also proposing to preserve the mansion. And by preserving the mansion, that means both the interior and the exterior. So we're pulling the building slightly away so the 3-story buildings don't sit right in front of the mansion, and the mansion's view corridor to the Hudson River it remains. What we showed at the village board was 65 units, but one of the reasons that this meeting is important, the determination for site capacity, is Rich Williams' firm completed the survey work that was required, and the yield is at 58 units based on the steep slopes and the analysis that Rich's team did. So we didn't change the presentation in terms of the architecture that you'll see, but we did speak, I just want to clear that up for the public. We did speak about a 65 unit development, but it is 58 units now based on the, as I said, the analysis. We have a mix of 1s, 2s, and 3s, 12 1s, 34 2s, and 11 3s, and then 1 supers unit. So it averages 2 bedrooms across the board. And the other point I'll make before I turn it over to Rich is that, and it came up during the previous matter, we've heard concerns about Strawberry Lane, certainly. We're in the middle of due diligence on options and constraints. So we don't have answers tonight, but we certainly are sensitive to the concerns of the surrounding neighborhood about Strawberry Lane. Our next step is working on setting up a meeting, which we've already done, with the DOT. So I don't have answers. I just know that I just wanted on the record that we understand that that is a hot button topic in the community. And with that, I will turn it over to Rich, again, partner with Inside Engineering.
Thanks, Jim.
While we're waiting for Rich, I'm sure you understand that the purpose of tonight's meeting is not to review anything about design or architectural features. If you want to present it, that's fine, but it's not something we'll be commenting on tonight because we don't have the true picture. We're here to establish site capacity.
Completely understand that. We thought it would just be helpful to show a few slides. We could, after Rich does the determination for site capacity analysis, shows you that. We'll show you a quick few slides that we showed the village board as well, but I understand what you're saying, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Proceed.
So in the sensitivity of time, I will be brief on the site description and project review. But we did want to just give the board an overview of where we're headed, just to be fully transparent. What you see before you is a rendered site plan. Left side of the page, you have North Broadway, which runs north-south. Our southern border is Strawberry Lane. Strawberry Lane does vary in width from west to east. It's about 22 feet wide. On the western end, it flares as you get near Northern Broadway and does diminish in width as you move farther east. It points close to 18 feet in width, although it feels narrower than that because there are existing drainage structures that protrude, particularly on this eastern end, into the roadway itself. As Jim mentioned, that is something that we are sensitive to and we're exploring options. On the site plan rendering, you can see the existing mansion in light brown. There's an existing office building and parking lots I'll show you in a few seconds. But essentially, we're proposing to construct 3 multifamily residential buildings. These buildings are stepped. There's a central courtyard that is being constructed on 3 tiers, an upper tier, middle tier, and lower tier. All that is to help compensate for the grade change that goes across the site. From our lowest corner in the southwest to the northeast, we do have 90 feet of grade change. So we were sensitive to that in the architecture and how we stepped the buildings to make sure that we weren't creating a large massing, and Tex will talk about that in a few minutes. We do have multiple entry points on Strawberry Lane, 2 to service the multifamily component, located as far to the west as possible where Strawberry Lane is at its widest. Again, we do understand the sensitivity of Strawberry Lane and are looking at options. And then we did want to create a separate entrance for the mansion. Moving forward, this is an existing conditions and slopes map, which is really the heart of what we're here to talk about tonight. Again, you can see the existing mansion, North Broadway, Strawberry Lane. You have the existing office building to be removed, which is hatched here, and the 2 parking lots. Just to compare development envelopes for 1 second, you can see these tight contours right here on these slopes. That corresponds to these contours here. So we were sensitive to focus the proposed development in the location of the existing parking lot. Just to run through the natural resources on site, the only that are present are steep slopes. We have both 15% slopes in greater in the light, 15 to 25% slopes in the light gray, and 25% and greater in the dark gray. Just to run through the calculations very quickly, total site area is 4 acres, 175,455 square feet. We do have 14,860 square feet of 25% slopes and greater, just shy of 34,000 square feet of 15% slopes. When you apply the applicable ratios to those, we end up having 28,000 square feet of resource protection area that gets deducted from our base site area of 175,455. That leaves us with a net buildable site area of 147,000 square feet, 147,424 square feet. There's a 3,000 square foot density factor per the zoning code, and that leaves you with a base density of 49 units. You did hear Jim say that we're seeking 58 units, and that is because your code permits a 20% increase for all affordable developments, of which this is proposed to be. With that being said, I will turn it over to Texter just to briefly walk you through some of the architecture.
Thank you, Rich. I'll be brief as well. The building layout has 2 different heights, as you can see here. The building located less than 300 feet from North Broadway is all 2-story height, and ones beyond 300 feet from North Broadway are 3-story high. These 3-story clusters follow the natural slope and gradually rolls up toward the mansion, while maintaining the middle area open to form the courtyard. Next slide, please. We focus to create the feeling of a
Can I
small
interrupt
village
you for
look.
1 second? Can I interrupt you for 1 second? Is this presentation architecturally with 65 units or with 58 units?
This is the
This
same.
is currently showing.
Yeah, this is the same presentation we showed at the village board meeting. So, it's just to show general layout, massing, and design, but we can not show it if that's what you would recommend.
Steve?
Sorry, we may have lost audio from the room.
proceed with what you have. So this is a portion of what it was, 60 units, not 58.
Correct. But the massing and the parking layout and the courtyard areas will be, or when it's modified, will be similar to this, and the layout and configuration on the site will be similar.
Like I said, this is fine, is not subject to tonight, at least the planning board's view. But go ahead if you want to.
No, we can stop there. Let's just go back to the zoning analysis then. And Rich, Han Engineering sent a memo, right?
Correct. We did receive a memo from Han Engineering today. I believe Doug's in the room, and there weren't any objections to the calculation as presented.
Hey, is that complete?
That's complete, Chairman.
There's one question that I would like you to include when you make the submission for our review. The current parking lot, the lower parking lot. You can just drive up there and see where the parking lot is. If the new building can be shown, how much closer to Broadway would it be than the parking lot?
Okay, we can prepare that and show that.
So people can visualize, they can visualize where the parking lot is, but it would be nice to visualize where the building is in relation to what the parking lot is, because we can see the parking.
That makes sense.
Okay. 8 units. This is a maximum. The purpose of the board tonight is not to approve 58 units as a given right. There are many aspects that may reduce, and some of them, and not limited to, would be stormwater. There's a lot of roof associated with this, which would generate a lot of stormwater. There's a traffic situation. There's going to be a traffic study, and whether the infrastructure that exists can handle that traffic. Is Strawberry Lane adequate for that traffic? Is the entry into Broadway adequate? And capacity adequate to deal with 58 units and still be able to comply with the surge required in the fire event? Is the parking adequate? Will Strawberry Lane become an auxiliary parking lot? These are all things that may reduce the 58 maximum. Again, like I said, the 58 tonight is not something that'll be a given. There are many factors, not limited to the things I mentioned, that may reduce the 58 to something that will fit into the infrastructure. Any comments from the board?
I have a couple questions. One, Marianne, how, given that we just talked about Strawberry Lane and they have to do curb cuts on Strawberry Lane, et cetera, is that an issue, not knowing who actually possesses the ownership of Strawberry Lane?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're struggling with the same issues as the homeowners. I'm wondering, you're proposing this, I'm assuming that there will be families. Are you proposing playgrounds and green space for the kids? I see lots of paved surfaces or pavers, so I'm curious about that. And I don't know, I know you talked about the parking a little bit more.
So,
Did you?
yes, there will be a playground, and there is a courtyard area in the middle. And with respect to the parking, we have the parking completely underground. There's no surface parking spaces. I think that was your last question, but yes, there will be a playground and open green space.
Where would the playground be?
Rich, could you zoom in?
It would be on the in the middle tier of the courtyards.
Thank you, Rich.
Being we are hybrid with Zoom and in person, there's an audio delay. So make sure the other person's finished speaking before you jump in, because then both people speaking at the same time and neither one can know what the other is saying.
How many parking spaces are you proposing?
I believe we're at 99.
It will be
correct?
100.
Yeah, 100.
Will be
That'll
100
probably,
parking
that's
spaces.
gonna vary.
I know, but
No, I meant since they've gone down from 65 to 58 units. So I didn't hear you clearly, sorry.
Rich?
100.
Well, you don't know, since it's from 65 to 58.
Right. We will be zoning compliant depending on where we end up on unit count, plus a few additional parking spaces for visitors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I too have the similar concerns regarding traffic. The neighbors on Strawberry Lane and Broadway is very busy to start with, much less adding the number of cars and families that will live there. So that's pretty much my concerns at this point.
I'd like to, parking, there's a lot of factors. You may provide spaces at a certain number, but you may need to take some of those parking spaces for trash removal. You may need to take them for maintenance of the grounds, tractor or whatever. You may need them because the occupants need storage space, and they take what normally is a parking space for a car and use it as storage space. President of a 94-unit co-op, and I know there's a lot of cars, and I know that people want to use garages for storage. So I'm concerned that Strawberry Lane doesn't become an auxiliary parking.
Because of the letters that we're getting, that the decision on whether to have a housing project in Irvington has already been made by the Board of Trustees. And that.
Speak up, Michael, please.
The decision on whether housing project in Irvington has already been made by the Board of Trustees. The question is not for us whether that's good or bad, pros or cons. That decision has been made. We're simply to evaluate the project. The only question I have is, can you go over again the mix of units when you propose 5 and and for 58?
Yes, the mix at 58 is 12 ones, 34 twos, and 11 threes, and 1 supers unit, which would be a 2-bedroom 2. So that'll give you a total of 35 2-bedrooms. So that's an average of 2 beds across the entire portfolio. I didn't hear the second question. I'm sorry.
What was the mix when it, 2 weeks ago before the board when it was 65?
Texter, do you have that in front of you? Actually, I do have it. Bear with me 1 second. It was 14 1-bedrooms, 14 3-bedrooms, and the balance were 2-bedrooms, which were
37.
37. Yeah. So a reduction of 2 1-bedrooms, 3 2-bedrooms, and 3 3-bedrooms.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm not sure if you can hear me. I just have one question about do you have a proposed use for the mansion at this point, or are you still thinking that through?
We're still thinking that through. We understand what the permitted uses are, but we're still thinking that through. It's a complicated and beautiful building. We know we want to preserve it, so we're still thinking that through, though.
Like I need to mention that there's been several letters submitted on this project in support. There was a Robert Doughton, Aaron and Michael Blanton, Phil and can't read my own writing. Jenna Sorrell, Alice Picon, and there was a petition signed by 63 or so people in favor. There were some objections, David Osborne, Natalie Brent Brodo, Boris Rosenstein, Marion Grubenstein, Marion Gruber, and Jack Sisson. Now, with that said, anybody in person in the room like to comment on this project?
Jay McCallum again, 11 Strawberry Lane. I just wanted to point out that on the cover page there, the box is marked for that this not being on sounds like a inventory. It sounds like an oversight. I have the inventory right here. It shows that the property is in fact on the open space inventory. Being on the open space inventory.
It's marked correctly?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No,
We noted it.
it is on.
But the cover sheet actually, unless.
Okay, correct. That's what he's told me to correct.
Okay, sure. If any of these things have been caught already, then obviously you should stop me because, all right. I read the language on the survey itself about whether or not driveway calculation for gross square footage and what's the deduction. It suggests that the driveways, the two lower driveways there, would be included. Is there, am I missing something? There are driveways feeding one-family homes and less than 3.
They're not counted in this process. They're not deducted.
Okay, and where would I find the language covering?
You can check it out.
And you need to speak into a mic, so.
I'm speaking into the mic.
Oh.
I'm leaning backwards.
Okay.
You can see it in the special zoning regulations for this lot. Don't look at the residential zone. Look at the special zoning that trustees adopted for this.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So as you probably know, the special permit for this property back in 1979 actually asked the then owner to at least not markers for the public easement going west-east up the hill. So that's, you can sort of see it there in the northeast corner. That's the in part because it would affect the calculation because it is at least a nuisance. One of the trustees actually asked, how are the residents of this development supposed to get to Broadway? Well, easement running west-east. That's already on the radar, or?
That'll be phase 2. Site capacity is an administrative process.
Right.
It's basically numbers. It's actually not open to a public meeting. The board's accommodating everybody here. This is an administrative move. The details that you're discussing on the walkway are clearly in the pedestrian traffic flow as part of the approval.
Understood, except that there is large area, but it is some square footage. So if this is pure, it certainly sounds like that number should be included. I would also just note I mean,
We understand.
I'm not just,
Yes, we understand.
the comprehensive plans. Old stone walls. In order to put the three driveways there. Rebuilding the wall with material in certain places, but it's actually a full third of to the use. Of course, I think they would agree, right? And use is different. Character is that new construction shall be of a design that complements the existing character of the neighborhood and community. And I think that neighborhood is actually pretty where we are here, right? To the west, exclusively one-family homes. This is institutional. When we talk about the Holy Spirit Association and Abbott House, aesthetically, they present real character that comes up again and again in the language of the comprehensive plan. And then the properties 10 years have been rezoned. The character properties north of that, the carriage house that belongs to the Holy Spirit. On every side, the character a good model for building multifamily housing that looks like all the states, and that's just unlike. I really question whether the
Recall, I did mention character as well as infrastructure. And the zoning, as I said, the zoning has been established. That would have been appropriate during the during the discussions with the trustees on the rezoning, which, if I recall, was several months and probably more than several months. Thank you very much for your comments, and moving on to the Zoom. Anybody else in the public is present? Ooh, that's pretty tall.
Strawberry Lane, and I also am opposed to the plan. I just don't think that we have the infrastructure to support putting 58 families on a that currently only supports 7, and it barely, I mean, if you drive up Strawberry Lane, you can see it's a one-way narrow street. It's really in such poor condition, and it's so narrow that it's, it's can't even fit the 7 residents that are already there. And you're going to change but in the community forever by, when we bought our home, there was only 6 other families on it. So you're talking about adding an additional 58 families to a neighborhood that only has 7. You're taking away our open space, our quality of life. You're adding pollution and traffic. And it's just not fair to the existing residents that live on the street right now. The density is too much. 58 families is too much to add to the street that can barely.
The infrastructure, existing infrastructure is something that we do, as I mentioned earlier. And Strawberry Lane capacity was one of the things that I mentioned. It will certainly be part of the evaluation that we will be expecting from the applicant. Anybody else that's present in the room that would like to comment?
I support not having this type of density. And I see 3.
Excuse me, can you identify?
Ellen Silverstein, I'm sorry. 3 or 4 1-acre homes also give great taxes to our community. Talked about affordable housing, where we're talking about 10% affordable and everything, which this against Irvington's benefits tax-wise. So that's another consideration. But the density is Mayor Smith. That was the gateway to Irvington. It was the last piece where people would be driving through. And I'm not sure what happened. There's a transition. This will not be a beautiful. People like Strawberry Lane people will be. Well, there's a place for it, but I don't think this is the place for it.
I think there was a young lady in the back that was going to stand.
Chairman, this is Jim. I don't mean to interrupt, but we can't hear any of the speakers. Literally, we can't hear any of the, Rich, I don't know if you could hear anything. I can't hear anything.
No. The minute someone starts talking into the public mic, audio cuts out.
I'm going to change.
Okay. No matter what road.
Can
you hear me?
Can you hear her?
I can hear her right now. So far, we can hear her, yes.
Okay. Quality of life for the people who apparently sent letters from our streets. I know from personally talking to many of these people that they all feel the same way, that they do not want this increase in our area where we've lived nicely, quietly, peacefully, and to have the traffic, especially coming through there, would be a very, very terrible experience for all of us. We don't want it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else present in the room? Okay, Sarah, do we have anybody on Zoom?
Yes, we have a comment in the chat that I'll read first. And it comes from a Terrace top. And it's or comment is, can we ask for an alternate design for entry and exit via Broadway? Some of our backyards back into Strawberry Lane and would impact our quality of life. And now Also, 3 people raising their hands.
I went second. Did you hear what she said about an alternate act?
Rich, you heard it? I didn't hear it.
I heard it, and Jim, it's in the chat.
It's in the chat.
It was asking for an alternative study to look at access from Broadway.
Yeah, so what I'll say about that is what I said earlier in that we recognize, and you know, we've spoken to enough of the community to know the concerns on Strawberry Lane, and we are in the due diligence phase and investigating options, and we're scheduling a meeting in the Department of Transportation. We don't have an answer right now. We don't have anything to show you, but we're looking into this.
Okay, thank you. You said you had 3 more.
Raising their hand to speak, and I will let them in by who raised their hand first. The first person that raised their hand to speak is Boris Rubenstein.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My wife and I have been residents of Strawberry Lane since 1994. We strongly oppose the proposed project on the density at 7C6 North Broadway. It will dramatically change our lives for the worse. Let me just explain. All the entrances for the proposed site on Strawberry Lane. One of the entrances is in front of my driveway. Now, when I leave my driveway in the mornings, I often have to wait for cars driving up to Abbott House before I can pull out. Once I'm on the lane, if a truck of the sanitation department or big truck delivering groceries come up the street, I find the lane too narrow for both of us. There is not enough room to maneuver. I have to reverse my medium-sized car, re-enter my driveway until the truck passes. If I'm further down the street, I often pull into the maximum driveway so the trucks can pass. So imagine the traffic after adding 58 units, perhaps 60 to 100 more cars, leaving the site in the morning, so returning at night, negotiating this narrow street. Furthermore, the image of an emergency vehicle or fire truck stuck on Strawberry, unable to move because of the car, is frightening. Now, widening the street will destroy the trees and will destroy this beautiful wall. Now, also imagine 58 units with vehicles and 20 to 30 children walking to and from school early in the morning or in the dark in a 2-way narrow street with no sidewalks. This is a fatal accident waiting to happen. Furthermore, this project with the density will interfere with my social life. My wife is a rabbi, I'm a president of a synagogue, and now that COVID is receding, we go back to celebrating in person with our friends and our congregants, inviting them to our house. When they come to our place during the Sabbath holidays, they can park on the street, and sometimes thanks to Maxon's generosity at their parking lot. Because of the density of the proposed site, it will be impossible to park in the street. The cars will block the traffic, make it impossible to go through. This will be a problem even when my close family or friends come to visit on a regular basis. And last but not least, we have a small friendly dog, very territorial. Our dog barks at people walking in front of our house, either alone or with their dogs. Adding the foot traffic of 58 units exiting the site in front of our driveway will cause my poor dog to bark incessantly all day long. Her life and ours will be miserable. We vehemently oppose the proposed building of 58 units for all those reasons and many more. It will destroy the character of Strawberry Lane, radically diminish the quality of life of its residents, and make our life in Irvington difficult. Thank you very much for listening. I greatly appreciate your attention.
Sarah?
The next person.
For the future speakers, recall that the purpose of tonight's planning board meeting is to establish the maximum site capacity, and that further review of all the things I've already said, infrastructure issues, may bring it down to so that the infrastructure can accept the workload generated by the proposal. If the infrastructure can't, then the infrastructure needs to be changed, or the units need to be reduced so that they can fit into the existing infrastructure. But those things are for the future. I'm sure there'll be several meetings on infrastructure and capacity of things like Strawberry, water tank, sewage, all these things. Infrastructure are important, stormwater. Okay, thank you. You have another speaker.
Yep, I'm here. Hi, my name is Jack Sisson. I am not a Strawberry Lane resident. I live on Irving Place off of Riverview Road. I do have a comment about infrastructure as well, but one that I hope informs what the developer does going forward. So the talk to date has been about the impact on Strawberry Lane and I think on Broadway. I am concerned about the load increase on Broadway because our turns onto Broadway from Riverview Road and Circle Drive are really treacherous already, and adding a large number of units in the 50s is going to make that even worse for us, especially given Strawberry Lane's proximity to our exits to anywhere. But I want to raise the concern about Riverview Road as well. Abbott House sits at the top of Strawberry Lane, and many people use Riverview. You have to use Riverview to exit Abbott House, but I suspect that as Strawberry Lane congestion goes way up, there's going to be a number of cars using Riverview to drop off for Abbott House, not to mention the huge number of people who drop their kids off at the walkway across the street from 97 Riverview Road and turn around in my driveway at high speed. We are concerned, especially because we have a small dog and a newborn baby, and we really don't want the traffic implications affecting us negatively in a way that we don't think can be mitigated. So that's my major concern, and wondering if the developer in their evaluations could please include Riverview Road as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Often let into speak is Frank Bolivia.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Hello?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Please speak up.
Yes, Frank, we can hear
Hello,
you.
can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Hello?
This is not the speaker up on this computer.
I don't know. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? You can hear me. Okay. Well, I can't hear any of you, but I'll just ask a few questions about, and I don't know if it's appropriate to ask questions about section 224-47.13, part A, part 4 about the traffic study. If it's not, I'll come back another time, but if it is, question 1 is when will the traffic study take place? And I just want to be sure that it takes place when school is in session, not during the summer, not during an early dismissal day, not during a holiday week or on a Friday or a Monday on or before a holiday week. 2, when and how will the intersections that are designated by the planning board be identified, and will the public have input to that? Because I have some thoughts and concerns that go way beyond the immediate intersection of Strawberry Lane and Broadway. And part 3, my third question is, how is the no action condition defined? Again, I bring up some of these things because in the AKRF report, which was really a very preliminary report, they totally missed the PM rush hour, which is pretty significant with the school buses. And then my other questions about capacity are, why is there no senior housing proposed why no affordable housing specifically for seniors proposed. And doing so could mitigate some of the issues that were brought up. And the last question I have is about the mansion. If I understood the trustee presentation meeting correctly, they would have to apply, the developer would have to apply for a special permit for the mansion to be used as a single family home, which would go against the new zoning proposal. My question there is, what happens if that special permit is granted and the owner wants to convert it to, say, a church, a synagogue, a mosque, or a nonprofit, or something where the village wouldn't be receiving any tax revenue? That's all I have right now, but I'll be back.
Mary Ann, you want to use for something else or something?
No, there's no special provision for one family houses. It's just not a permitted use. Other uses, but
I can't hear anything.
Well, maybe somebody has to get back.
I'll unmute. If you can still hear me, I just wanted to bring up that
Until we have a proposal, we're hypothesizing. It makes no sense. Live there, anybody could live there. They made a choice to make it affordable housing, and if you meet the income limitations and you're a senior, you can live. Oh, no age limits.
It's unfortunate you can't hear us. We did respond to that, and you could submit something in writing and we'll get back to you.
And Caesar, what about that? I think you have good points about the traffic study.
I think he has good points about the traffic study being done at the right time of the day. There is a huge fluctuation.
Yeah, we decide and it should be done, what corners should be evaluated, and that'll be done at a public meeting where people will be able to have input.
Sarah? Can't hear us, but you've been cut off.
Read the minutes.
Okay, the next person that's going to be permitted to speak is Glenn Cashin.
Yeah, good evening. So my name is Glenn Cashin. I'm at 81 North Broadway, right across the street from the proposed project. With respect to the purpose of the evening to establish site capacity, I'm just wondering if in the estimation of the site capacity, is the rest of the property that was subject to the zoning change, is that included when in this evaluation, or is it kind of like the first property that goes, gets the lion's share of the capacity, especially if resources are limited, such as traffic flow on Broadway, et cetera. And I'm also wondering if the subjects of other zoning changes along Broadway, such as the new conference center at Villa Lawaro, are factored in, because they don't exist yet. But they will contribute to traffic on Broadway. And the third thing that I wanted to mention here is that since these are rental units, there's likely to be a high churn rate with people moving in and out. So that would mean, moving van and moving crew capacity and parking and so forth. You would have parking issues there. You'd also have, congestion on Strawberry Lane, not to mention, trucks turning on and off Broadway there. And lastly, at the board meeting a couple of weeks ago, the conversation turned toward traffic lights along Broadway, to sort of ease that congestion. But, just as a personal point of view here, I think that would be a disaster to stop traffic at that point of Broadway. You would back traffic up in all kinds of ways that are, unanticipated now. And whereas now you've got this nice flow of traffic through our neighborhood on Broadway. It's all residential currently, bear in mind. So adding traffic lights along that corridor would really just back traffic up in front of driveways and create idling cars and kind of a far worse situation than we have now. So that's it. Those are my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the traffic study will be in the future, and welcome to come back and add your comment.
And Caesar, just so you generally, when you're doing a traffic study, you have to take into account all uses in the area and uses that are envisioned. So if it's in the planning process, you have to take that into consideration as well.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. Caesar, I didn't understand his first question about
Laura, you need to speak across.
I didn't understand his first question, something about like the site, certain amount. I wasn't sure.
I didn't quite either, but
Okay.
just done for each individual lot. So this site capacity is being done for the 4.0 major lot at 76 Broadway. So if somebody comes in with the property next door, well, why don't you have the other property right? So this is just the site capacity for this lot.
Okay.
I think also part of this question is we have 58 units here, and there's going to be drainage, and there's going to be water supply. And we have no idea if the next property comes in with 100 units. And I guess he's correct, that first come, first served on the existing infrastructure. If the next project exceeds the ability of the infrastructure because of whatever they're proposing, then something will need to be done with the next project. But we can't anticipate the next project. Thank you. Sarah?
Yeah, the last person that's raising their hand is Addie Bloom.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I missed the discussion on the previous one that was my property. I just landed, but wanted to be part of this discussion and just reiterate, what I've said in previous meetings and which is in line with what Boris and my neighbor Jack have indicated. So this is Adi Bloom. I live on 7 Irving Place, and we front Strawberry Lane as well. Strawberry Lane's a 1-lane street. I've witnessed the same thing that Boris described, where if you have a fresh direct truck or other delivery vans which come up multiple times a day, it's a 1-lane street, and also the overflow onto Riverview. Turning off Riverview, as many of you know, is already treacherous. My brother had his car wrecked, and thankfully he was okay, but his car was totaled trying to get out of Riverview. I echo the concerns about, having traffic light would be great, but that's gonna back up traffic all the way, into town, and have knock-on repercussions all the way down Main Street, all the way down to the train station at certain times of the day. So just the complexities of how this is all going to work boggle my mind. So just reiterating the concern around the density and the impact on traffic and quality of life. Last thing I would say is that I think because of the knock-on effects on traffic, those who commute by car may want to move out of Irvington, because this could potentially add 20 minutes to people's commutes in the morning. We'll see what the traffic studies say. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
Or no comments in the chat.
Okay, I think we finished with this. And again, we are going to, on this, and this resolution is going to be about a maximum number of 58. And as I stated earlier, a couple of times, that is extensive review of the project in terms of infrastructure. Obviously, traffic is one of them. So the other things that I mentioned on infrastructure would reduce, this is not approval of 59, a given number that it will be 58. Mary Ann, you have a resolution prepared?
Sure. Whereas in May 2022, WBP Development applied for site capacity determination for an all-affordable multifamily development on the 4.02 acre lot at 76 North Broadway. And whereas Han Engineering and the village attorney reviewed the submission and confirmed the calculation pursuant to section 224-82 of the zoning. The area is 175,455 feet. That's also the base site area because there's no land reserved from previous subdivision or roads or rights of way. Then you subtract the resource protection features, which there's 15% slopes, 33,771 square feet of them. You subtract 50% of that, which gets you to 16,886. And then the slopes greater than 25%, there's 14,860 of those. You calculate those at 75%, 11,145 square feet for a total resource protection deduction of 28,031 square feet, resulting in a net buildable site area of 147,424 square feet. Whereas the subject property is located in the multifamily office zoning district, which the density factor for 3 or more family uses is 1,424 divided by 3,000 results in 49 dwelling units. And because a 20% density bonus is added for an all affordable development pursuant to section 224-47.15 of the zoning code, thereby resulting in a total of 58 units. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board determines that the site capacity of the 4.02 acre lot at 76 North Broadway for an all affordable multifamily development is 58. Which we have been making, that the code also explicitly says, said determination established vested rights in the number of dwelling units so determined. But 58 is the maximum they could have that.
Okay, thank you, Mary Ann.
Second.
Approved. Approved. Dan, Caesar approved. Michael? Approved. Approved. Okay, I want to thank everybody for their participation. There was a lot of input from a lot of people. Close to 100 people took the time to comment on this, and I think that's very commendable. Like I said, in another project, having 100 people interested in something is an accomplishment. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the.
Thank you.
Thank you.
7 is 2022-18 College. 555 Broadway.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Seth Mandelbaum. I'm a partner with the law firm of McCullough, Goldberger, and Stout. Very pleased to be here on behalf of my client, Mercy College. With me this evening are Tom Simmons, who is the Vice President for Operations and Facilities at Mercy, Chris Tramatola, who is a landscape architect with Peter Gisolfi Associates, and John Romeo, a licensed professional engineer with McLaren Engineering Group. We are here this evening regarding an amended site plan application for Mercy College. As you may be aware, I'm sure you are, the campus for Mercy is split almost right down the middle between the village of Irvington to the north and the village of Dobbs Ferry to the south. And we're going to take you through a brief presentation of this proposal. But I would like to note that Mercy does operate in the Irvington portion of the campus pursuant to a special permit, which was originally approved in 1977 and was last extended in October of 2017 for 5 years. It does expire once again on October 31st, 2022. So we do anticipate coming back to this board in the fall to request an additional extension of the special permit together with any updates to the overall master plan. But this evening, and we have discussed this, Tom met with Ed early on, and I've been in conversations with Mary Ann, and our landscape architect also at Mary Ann's suggestion had a couple of conversations with Suzanne Nolan before filing his drawings to try to incorporate her comments. So we did receive the memos from Douglas Hahn and Suzanne Nolan, and of course we will work on those responses to be submitted for your next meeting on June 1st. I just would like to know procedurally, I did talk to Mary Ann the other day about the fact that we need variances from the Croton Aqueduct buffer and the Broadway buffer, even though no new buildings are proposed for the signage and a raised pedestrian crossing on the aqueduct that would trigger the need to go to the zoning board. And in discussions with Mary Ann and my clients, we thought it made sense to try to work through the planning board first, and hopefully this board will be comfortable considering it at your next meeting, if appropriate, a site plan approval subject to getting those variances for those buffers, so we can get on their agenda, the zoning board agenda after that. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Tom Simmons. Tom is going to give you an update on the DOT improvements and that winding saga that hopefully is coming to an end this summer. Tom will give you some detail on that and can answer any questions about it. And then Chris will take you through some of the proposed improvements, primarily landscaping and signage to upgrade and beautify the front entry. And there are some other maintenance issues by the OCA and the entry at guardhouse, and then finally a proposed unlit sign down by the new path that Mercy constructed down to the Ardsley train station in coordination with the Ardsley House and the village to have a safe path back and forth to the train station. So Tom, I'm going to hand it over to you. And of course, we're happy to answer any questions that the board or the public might have when we're done with our presentation.
Thanks, Seth, and welcome. So as you are probably aware, in 2016, we started to work when the new residence hall, Hudson Hall, was approved on the Dobbs Ferry campus. We had a condition there where we had to add a turning lane and change the radiuses of the front entrance of Mercy College on Route 9. That was also a condition of the last special permit with the Village of Irvington, and I've had quite a long time working with DOT on that project. But as Seth alluded to, we're at a point now where they have finally signed off on things. We're able to bid the project. Just to tell you a little bit, because I appreciate your patience with that. In 2017 is when we first submitted designs to the DOT from a design standpoint. And then that eventually, after close to a year, got transferred to the real estate division. And we had a bunch of issues with easements where Mercy's property went into the road. And we worked on permanent easements. And then when that got submitted through, that got rejected, and some folks in DOT had decided that we needed to do a permanent land transfer where Mercy's property actually went into Route 9, where usually their easement goes into your property. So then we had to draft something at a zero cost to actually transfer those slivers of land along the property. That then was accepted by the DOT and turned in. But the Attorney General's office rejected that transfer because the title search on it was not a 40-year search, and it was only a 20-year search, and they required a 40-year search. So we did that, and we resubmitted that. And to make a long story short, that has finally all been recorded with Westchester County. The land is transferred. They've given us the okay to go forward with that. So I know that's something that was very important to the community, and we thank you for your patience on that. And we are going to currently bid that project. And the project that's before you tonight is really in some ways a supporting project to that project. It's what we're calling the phase 2 part of that, which is really not to say the DOT work isn't important, but it's really infrastructure, road, curbs, the traffic signals and that sort of stuff. And what we wanted to do with this project is aesthetically and functionally enhance that front entrance of the college and the Broadway corridor. And in addition to that, right outside that landscape area, we're going to show you an area where we wanted to add additional landscaping and a pollination corridor and some stone dust walkways to have an informal kind of a community walk there. At the last time when we were asked to do that Route 9 work for the DOT, there was 3 requests that also had come from Dobbs Ferry and Irvington community. One was about fixing up the side of the Croton Aqueduct on the Irvington side, like we had did on the Dobbs Ferry portion of the campus with stone dust and grading, and to install a raised pedestrian table at the crosswalk from a safety standpoint. I thank you for your support for the great train path we worked together to put in. We've got a small version of a sign we'd like to have approved at the bend of Mercy up at the curve that goes up. That's a small version of what we're asking for out in front. And then the last thing is, as Seth alluded to, a second lane at our gatehouse, because we have a sensor there, and sometimes people stop and ask a lot of questions, and that creates a backup on traffic with that. So with that, as you're aware, Mercy's 55-acre campus is split between Dobbs Ferry and Irvington. There's about 35 acres at Dobbs Ferry and 20 in Irvington. As I just mentioned, that DOT project was approved in 16, and we are now going to bid it in this next coming month. So we thank you for your patience with that. I do think it's important, just before I turn it over to some other folks, that when you look at the DOT scope of work, you can see here the radius change and the turning lane in the gray zones. So part of why we thought it was important to do the aesthetic changes you're going to hear about in a moment is because the existing signs, as you can see here, are right on the corner of it, is actually in the new sidewalk. So when we were approved to do these infrastructure changes at the intersection, people said to us in that approval process, it was really a functional infrastructure project, and aesthetically, you should come back for a second project to do those changes. Hence, that's why we're here tonight with that. And our team is going to recognize the buffers that are on the Croton Aqueduct Trail, as well as the Broadway buffer off the front. Here you can see the red is the DOT project scope. And with that, now I'm going to turn it over to Chris Tromolata, who's going to talk about the project that's in front of you. And I hope that gives you some good context for I'm available to answer any questions at the end.
Thank you. Good evening. Can everyone hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to hear this project. As Tom just explained, this is a project to beautify the Mercy College campus, as well as address a number of concerns that have been lingering for the campus from Irvington and Dobbs Ferry that have been long asks, including the additional turn lane, the intersection, and the aqueduct trail. So as you can see here, this is the blow up of the proposed plan. The idea is to fit this entrance and the landscape along Broadway into the larger Broadway context. As you drive up and down the state road, you see stone walls on each side, large trees, native landscapes that have been in place for decades or centuries. And when you pass by Mercy College right now, you see an empty lawn that seems to have no purpose and kind of wanders off into the distance. It doesn't show itself as an academic campus or a native landscape. And so when we were tasked with coming up with a design for this area, we looked to the surrounding landscapes in Irvington, especially along Broadway, and wanted to mimic those stone walls that are seen elsewhere. So as you look through the design, we incorporated along the edge of Broadway, within that buffer, the same stone walls that are along Broadway, as well as the new signage. And in between those signs and alongside those signs, we are placing in a pollination corridor. This was something that we brought in a horticulturalist, a specialist, to come in and select the types of species, the plants, to make sure that this was always not only aesthetic and offered visual interest in every season, but also provided an ecological benefit to the wildlife. Our plant list, which is on the planting plan submitted, is actually quite extensive. And Mercy College has gone out of its way to bring this to a real ecological level. When we look to the west portion, beyond just the entrance on Broadway, you can see that there's a meandering stone dust path that runs through the meadow and connects to the old Croton Aqueduct. That aqueduct would be maintained, as Tom alluded to, and then it connects through to the meadow on the other side as well. What's known as Legacy Field there is often used as, it's sometimes used as dog walking, and children from camps play there sometimes. And giving that some border that's not the road would not only make it a safer situation and more contained for those kids, but it would also give it a more aesthetically pleasing surround. As you can see, there's a number of trees that get added as well. The other additions, as Tom mentioned, would be the raised table across at the aqueduct. That, for anyone who doesn't know what that might allude to, is essentially a very long speed bump. The cars would have to come up onto a 6-inch level, and then they ride along a different paving that actually rumbles as you drive over it. So it's multi-sensory for the drivers, so that they are paying attention to what's going on, hopefully not on their phones. And then you'd come back down. What that does is that as you're going across the aqueduct trail as a pedestrian, you don't have to step off of a curb and then step back up onto the curb on the other side. The grade, the elevation for the pedestrian stays uniform throughout their path of travel. And then finally, as you go towards the end there by the security booth, as Tom mentioned, an extra lane would be added with a fob gate for the students who are already enrolled and have parking passes. As he mentioned, visitors have to get a parking pass from the security guard at the booth. And if there's 2 or 3 of those in a rush hour situation, the traffic can actually back up all the way to the intersection, which has become an issue. This would allow the 1 or 2 cars who are waiting for the passes to be at the security booth while everyone else is safely passes through to the parking areas. Looking towards the bottom left, sorry, of the screen, we have the train path, which is very minimal from what has already been built. We are simply proposing a sign at a smaller scale to what is proposed at the main entrance in a matching aesthetic, and planting to also bring more of an ecological benefit to that location on the campus as well. Here's a small Photoshop image showing the existing condition versus the proposed. As you can see, we are bringing the vegetation, more deciduous trees, to the Broadway buffer. As you'll know, if you drive just a couple hundred yards north on Broadway, there are those gorgeous large sycamore trees that are line Route 9. And when you get to this location, you can see on that upper image that it's very vacant of vegetation, of large canopy vegetation along the road. What we want to do is bring that natural vegetation back to this location. Here you can see another example of that, and this is a little bit more accurate view of what those signs would look like. The other walls throughout the design are a boulder wall to match the rest of Route 9 and fit in with that native landscape. The signs, the walls that the signs will be placed on will be in a red brick to match the rest of the Mercy College campus. Those are the only 2 signs that will be red brick to match the campus. And those signs would be a metal letter standoff from a cast stone panel. So the cast stone would be set into the masonry, and it would be a powder coated or an annealed metal that would be anchored into that cast stone. The only reason to really highlight those materials in detail is to show that these are built as they would not be something that would fade or require continuous maintenance. This is something that would be what you would be approving would be a lasting feature. And here you can see at the train path the similar style, similar materials, but a much smaller, almost seat wall elevation size version of that same sign at the train path. Right now, there's no signage, as you can see on the bottom right, for that area. And as you can see, there's hardly any understory vegetation. So that would be enhanced to provide some ecological benefit, and the signage there would match the front to have some continuity.
Thank you very much, Tom and Chris. And thank you to the board for giving us a few minutes here to walk you through this project, which the college is very excited about. And I think you heard from Tom a little bit of his frustration, the process that the college has been going through with New York DOT. But we're optimistic and excited to get this going. And at this point, we're happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you very much. First, thank you for that sidewalk. It starts at the train station and goes up into the college. I've walked that many times, and certainly an A1 plus job that you put that sidewalk in. And congratulations on that. Size of the walls that the signs are going to be attached to, it's hard to say. It's going to be 6 foot high, 5 foot high. I'm not sure if there's a delineation of the size of those brick walls. So for the tree signs, give it some dimensions when you come back.
Okay, just for the ones in the front or for all of them?
The walls are dimensioned in the details. I can note those on the plans as well, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, okay. And in the back. I think
Yes.
it was added, the original submission, but it was added, so please take care of that. Any work on the aqueduct itself, you know, it belongs to state parks, the Conic region, so you need to get their approval for work on the aqueduct or any part of their land. If you're in the buffer, you already know you need to go to the ZBA if you're in the buffer. You should know, maybe of assistance, that the aqueduct has design criteria, or I should say state parks has design criteria for the aqueduct. It's a pamphlet, it's online, you can refer to it in terms of how to do plantings. There is, you know, now that I'm thinking, I walk there a lot, and in front of Hudson, there's an immense, and I was wondering, in this project, can you hear me?
No.
You cut in and out a little bit, yeah.
Can I make a crazy suggestion? Is there a way to put questions in the chat maybe? So, because this has been happening all night. I know it's not anybody's fault, but I've seen it's been a problem for, I think, for the applicants and the board. Just a suggestion. I don't know if that'll work, but.
Seth, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, but even, you know, Mary Ann, your mic has been cutting out all night too.
Okay, but.
It doesn't seem to be the microphones. It seems to be something with Zoom, but you know, again, that's very muffled now.
I heard the part that you need to go to state parks for the aqueduct work.
Yes, we heard that, and I thought there was a comment about design criteria being online.
And I was just curious, there's a lot of trophy trees, for lack of a better word, and one of which is this immense oak tree that's in front of one of your buildings that is on Hudson. Part of this great project to put new trees in and foliate the property. If you could survey the property for lack of a heritage trees, I guess is the right terminology, and mark them on there as extraordinary trees, because there are several trees that are quite extraordinary, at least from my point of view. I've never seen a tree as big as this oak tree. It has to be 8 foot in diameter.
Sure, we're glad to do that.
And you need to talk to to Susan Nolan. She had some questions about the pathway. There's to some of the routes. She had tree removal needs to be better identified. What are the species you're removing? We wouldn't want something removed, again, that is very beneficial. So there's a lot of tree work that you need to go back to Susan Nolan and work on, and it's part of Doug Hahn's letter as well.
I plan on visiting the site with Suzanne to review those trees. All of the trees that we're planning on touching to remove are either invasive species there or in extremely poor health. I completely agree that there are a lot of heritage trees there, and we are not looking to touch or impact any of them.
It'd be a good idea to identify them so that no one else touches them. Lighting for the signs, you do know we have a dark sky compliant ordinance. Has to be dark sky compliant. Any lighting that you add for the signs. Any comment from the board?
I think your proposal is really good looking. I think the signage looks nice. I'm excited to see that you're going to do something for the pedestrians going over that entry road. Is that the best? Cars go really fast there. Is that the best way to protect pedestrians with that raised table and anything in addition that you could do? I happen to run there early in the morning, and where I stopped because the cars are going too fast. So I just wonder if there's any addition.
One of the other items that I actually didn't touch on was the current roadway has been altered in this proposal very slightly to make a curve and a straight and a curve and a straight, which has been studied to show that having different radii throughout a drive makes drivers slow down a little bit. So instead of having a uniform radius that goes through to the guard booth, we've altered it slightly. One, it's an aesthetically pleasing change, but we made that alteration for a safety issue. And the raised table is something that has done a lot of heavy lifting for pedestrian safety over the years.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No questions, Caesar. Thank you. No questions. Yeah.
I have one very small, I guess, comment or maybe recommendation. Right by where I think you're placing the raised table, proposing to put the raised table, there's a bit of a drainage issue right there. There tends to be a lot of water that collects where the Croton Aqueduct path meets that area. So I think that a lot of people who are active through that area, when it's very wet and filled with puddles, they tend to now run down the hill into kind of a little basin there and out. I know I do often when it gets really bad. So for whatever that's worth, that might be something to look into as part of the plan.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Anybody in person who has a comment from the public? No. Is there anything on Zoom?
There's nobody raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments.
Ed, do you have anything? Good. Okay. Questions about what we're looking forward to? Do you have any questions about what we're looking forward to see in the next submission?
No, I think we're pretty clear, Chairman, unless Tom or Chris have any questions. I just had one clarification on Mr. Hahn's memo. The comment about requiring SHPO approval for work within the OCA. I just want to confirm that just like comment number 3 about the DOT right-of-way requiring approval, that the OCA work for SHPO, that hopefully that could be a condition of approval prior to building permit. And we can work on that concurrently.
That's fine.
That was a yes.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Okay, well, we thank you.
Great presentation, and this needs the clarification that we asked for.
Great. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Stay well.
Next is the last. It's 2022-16, 53 Field Terrace.
Good evening.
See you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. I'm gonna take it down in scale a little bit here compared to the last couple of applications. So what I'm presenting here is a small reduction in coverage and a new deck at 55 Field Terrace for my clients who previously purchased this property in 2020, and they're just looking to do some minor alterations to their rear yard. I will bring up some documentation for you to look at. We received Han Engineering's comments earlier today. The bulk of the comments are easily addressable. I might have a question or two related to some of them, but let me give you the context of the property itself. Let me share my screen. Can you guys see this? Planning board submission, site plan, a couple photographs on the left-hand side?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, it's getting dark in the office. It's a little later than we expected. So our clients purchased the property in 2020. They have not done any work to the exterior beyond replacing an existing pool fence that was in disrepair. That is now code compliant for pool. That was one of the comments from Han, so that's addressed in their comments. But what they're requesting here is there's an existing rear deck that you can see here that's aging and in disrepair and wants to be replaced. And they want to expand the deck over an existing planting area and an existing patio. Now we realize that the patio in place is large. And so what we're prepared to do is demolish the existing patio to create a net negative in coverage on the property. So what you can see here, let me go to another document. So just to zoom in quickly, this is the whole of the house that you see existing in 82 and is documented at the building department. I don't know that it is documented by Greenberg per se. So one of the comments that came from Han was that this area is not documented. However, it has been in place for 40 years. So let me go to what is proposed. So what you see here in our plan is all of the blue area is existing brick pavers, not including this area here, which is the existing deck I mentioned. That is being replaced in kind with a new Trex deck or TimberTech deck. And then subsequently, a chunk of different areas are being removed to make less ground coverage. What you see below in orange is the deck expansion and some pavers in grass, which is replacing previous brick pavers. That's essentially the proposal at hand. And we look forward to your comments or any questions that you may have.
Biggest comment is that the patio around the pool is undocumented. And when we come across undocumented structures or patios, they need to be part of the new submittal, which probably will change your, most likely, change your coverage calculations.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, Caesar. We did include the coverage calculations that do note what the volume of these are. We just did not propose them as new because they are not. So.
Yeah, I guess we could send you the what's documented and undocumented and confirm the numbers.
If it's undocumented, when Doug Hahn sends you what we know as documented and undocumented, anything undocumented has to be included as part of, even though it exists, it's undocumented, therefore it has to be part of the new submission. That the undocumented is essentially new that we haven't seen before. And that would have to be taken into account as coverage.
My microphone's not working, but we can get them what we have. We can send you what we have documented, and then you can determine what the areas are that are undocumented and what are proposed.
Noted. What we see, and I'm not sure exactly what you have at this time. We do note that the local Greenberg GIS does not cover everything that I believe is on the site. And whatever the time period was that was documented, we have documented, although we have not presented it as undocumented at this time, we have documented what is existing. So what you see in our plans and our coverage calculations are accurate to date. So I guess we just need to change the designation as to how it is being presented in order to relay that to you.
Correct.
So
the documentation for the pool, 1981, does not show the patio. It shows the pool, but not the patio.
Noted.
So it's undocumented. Anyway, did we, the little fence that's acceptable as pool protection, but the outer fence is acceptable, but you got to include the safety measures on the house.
Yeah, please include in your next submission a compliance, just show compliance with the property maintenance code for the pool barrier. In other words, making sure that existing Jared fence meets the pool code, and any openings in the building that's being used as a barrier meet the state code. And please be aware that in 2020, the state code changed the barrier requirements. I think we dealt with this on one of your other projects.
We did.
If you have any questions, I think I sent it to you, didn't I?
You did.
The barriers.
We'll just note that. We'll note that documentation.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No question.
Dan?
No questions.
Mike?
No questions. Nothing, thanks.
The public that is currently present in the room. Is there anything on Zoom?
So nobody's raising their hand to speak, and there are no comments in the chat.
Okay, I suggest you meet with either Ed.
Can I ask one quick question of the board and of Hans' comments, just so that I can address them in the next iteration?
Go right ahead.
One comment that is noted is related to existing trees on the property. There's no proposed change to any sort of trees or landscaping at this time. Do I need to provide a tree survey or just document larger caliper trees as per the request, or is that necessary?
Any trees in the construction limits. So if you want to make sure the trees are outside, show the trees outside the construction limits or show them protected.
Noted. One additional question is related to the neighborhood comparison chart, or basically the aerial related to all other properties. Since this is a net negative and a reduction in existing, is that a requirement as well, or something that the board needs to see?
I'll take it. Because most of the patios are undocumented, it's going to be needed for the comparison, and it's a precursor. You'll need it for ZBA, so we'll get it done now.
Noted.
When you include the undocumented, we would like to see the chart.
Noted. All right, no other questions. Sorry to interrupt.
You can straighten out the coverage issue. See you next time.
That's good. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the festivities for the planning board this evening. And time to say goodnight and go outside and take this mask off. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your participation.